Hello guys, today I'll be talking about SI Engineering Company, alright? Shiva by the way, and SI Engineering Company is actually a company which is actually involved in aircraft maintenance, repair and overhaul, alright? So it actually checks aircraft, make sure that they are alright, there's nothing wrong with them, no wear and tear, no faults in them, alright? It's actually quite important in the aircraft industry because it's actually dealing with people's lives here, alright? And it's actually recognized as a leading player in the MRO industry. And a little bit of background information on SIA Engineering Company is that it's actually a subsidiary of Singapore Airlines, and it was formed in 1st April 1992. Yeah, April Fools, I guess. Next, when we want to talk about SIA Engineering Company, we want to talk about its performance, we want to talk about how well it's doing. We actually look at financial ratios, right? So for financial ratios, um, we actually look at these ratios: the price earning ratio, um, the earnings per share, and the current ratio, and the return on equity. All right. So these ratios are actually quite significant. And as you can see here, the PE ratio is actually at 20.3473. It's actually predicted to decrease to 20.3111 in the next fiscal year. And the earnings per share trailing 12 months is actually 0.2246. It's actually expected to increase to 0.2250 next fiscal year. Uh, Next, the current ratio is at 3.16, and this is actually quite healthy. And the return on equity as of June 2014, for the month of June 2014, is actually at 15.16%. Alright, so when we want to talk, the first ratio we're talking about will be PE ratio, price earnings ratio. Right, the price earning ratio currently is at 20.3473. It's still going to go down. And PE ratio is actually a valuation ratio of a company's current share price compared to its per share earnings. Alright. So in general, a high PE suggests that investors are expecting higher earnings growth in the future compared to companies with a lower price earning. Right. So it is actually quite bad because it shows that investors actually not expecting they're actually expecting the earnings growth to actually become lower for SIA Engineering. Next, we'll be talking about would be current ratio. The current ratio now is at 3.16, and at 3.16, current ratio is actually a form of liquidity ratio that measures the company's ability to fulfill short-term obligations. Right? And it's actually calculated by dividing the current asset over current liabilities. And the higher the current ratio, the better it is, as it shows that the company is able to pay the short-term obligations. So if your company is below 1, it's not a good thing, is it? I wouldn't want to be your company. Next, earnings per share. Earnings per share is actually, when we talk about financial ratios, this is the one that most investors want to see. They want to see how much earnings they get per share, and is that earnings per share is actually going to increase next fiscal year. It's actually a good thing, and the earnings per share is actually calculated from the net income divided by the number of outstanding shares, and this is actually an indicator of the company's profitability. All right. This is also an indication that the volume of sales generated will also increase. All right. So yeah, you'll actually be increasing. Next, we'll be talking about return on equity. Return on equity as of June for the month of June 2014 is at 15.16%. However, for the full fiscal year, it's actually at 19.49%. And the return on equity is a measure of a company's profitability as a percentage of the shareholders' equity. And the ratio is actually calculated based on the net income generated divided by the shareholders' equity. And this will also show how much money the shareholder invests actually generated into income. Alright, so yeah, how much do I put in? How much of it generates into income as since I'm the shareholder. Next, I'll be talking about SWOT analysis. I don't really have a script for this, so I'm going to do this impromptu. Alright, so for SWOT analysis, the strength. Alright, the strength of SI engineering. SI engineering has to do with planes, alright, the maintenance of planes. Since Singapore is it's quite a small country, However, since it's small, even though it's small, it's quite it, there's a nice airport, okay, which caters to many flights, many airlines, alright. So there are thousands of planes, coming in and out of Singapore. Um, since there's more foreign talent, one-way tickets, okay, and there are many people here in Singapore stressed out, moving out, and also mainly because Singapore is like a tourist hotspot. It's cleaner than most of the other countries in Asia Pacific. I would say that since there's a lot of flights happening, there's actually going to be more maintenance, and this is actually good for SI engineering. And also, since tourism is increasing in Singapore over the years and will increase in the next few years, I would think that it will be good for SI engineering since they deal with the maintenance, of flights of airplanes. Weaknesses for SIA, I would think that since Singapore is a small country, there's only a limit to how many airplanes there can be at one go. It's like there's a limit, and since there's a limit, there's also very little flights coming. There will also be a limit on how many flights there can be in Singapore, mainly because it is a small country, and this will actually be seen as a weakness for it. Also, since it's in the airline industry, and lately there's been a lot of disasters. As you guys might know, it's the MH370 and the MH17. Um, Airlines all over the world actually seen a decline, and because many people are actually quite scared. There might be actually be more incidents happening, and since there are a lot more these past few months, I would say that SIA engineering has also suffered quite a bit, mainly because they are to do with the airplanes, and more people are getting scared of taking flights, I guess. So they actually, for them, I would suggest as engineering will actually be going downwards, mainly because of more people getting more scared. So for opportunity, I would guess SI engineering is actually quite good. We'll be going to the main side now. For SI engineering company, as you can see, is actually they have many joint ventures, and one of them is with original equipment manufacturers, which is located quite close to their hangars, and this actually provides them with efficiency and effectiveness. Okay, so that there's cost efficiency, and they actually can't complain that our equipments are too far away, things like that, because they're quite close. So this actually provides efficiency, and more people might actually support this idea, might actually be more satisfied. Next would be SIA Engineering Company is actually going to do a joint venture with Boeing. Many of you guys know that Boeing is actually a huge company, a renowned company, and this will actually be a good thing for SIA Engineering. This shows that they're actually dealing with the big bosses now. Boeing is actually globally renowned, and this will actually be seen as a step forward for SIA Engineering. Next, for threats, I will only suggest that the only threats for SIA engineering would be threats coming from competitors. Alright. So without further ado, let's move to the fundamental analysis, the chart analysis, which is like, so we're using charts and all that. As you guys see from Bloomberg here, I don't really have the Excel sheet, so I apologize for that. It's actually been fluctuating. Here's actually stagnating, actually. So it actually shows a bit of stability. However, as of in July, actually, after the airplane crashes, I would suggest, I think, the price actually fell from 5.11, 5.12 all the way down to here at 4.58. So I would actually say here's the recovery period, but there's actually been a sharp decline. And if you see the 1 month, it's actually been not so good also. It's actually been declining. However, if you see for 1 day, it's actually been quite stable. So I would say that now it's recovering. It's hitting its recovery period. It's going to stagnate here before improving in the future, mainly because of the air flight incidences. Alright. So we can see the income statement for SIA engineering. It's actually been facing declines over the past few months, I guess. fiscal year. This is actually not a good thing for SIA Engineering. Alright. However, its 5-year dividend growth is actually at 9.34%, which is a good point. And next we'll be talking about would be its closest competitor. Its closest competitor. No, I won't be talking about this. Next, I'll be talking about would be the charts. Alright. SIA Engineering, as you can see, I'll be using the RSI and the Bollinger Bands. And okay, so next I'll be talking about would be the Bollinger Bands and the RSI Relative Strength Index. Alright, so as you can see, first of all, we're talking about the Relative Strength Index. The Relative Strength Index consists of a range of 0 to 100, and if the stock reaches 30, it's actually an indicator that stock is oversold and undervalued. As you can see here, it reached 20, so it's actually oversold and undervalued. However, if the stock reaches above 70, it's actually overbought and overvalued. So as in not overbought, but it's bought too many times as overvalued. So it's So this happens, we actually need to do the opposite. So if it's actually low, as you can see here, if it's 20, we actually need to buy more. And if it's up high here, we actually need to sell. So we actually have to do vice versa of what the relative strength index tells us. Alright, so next will be Bollinger Bands. Bollinger Bands actually it measures the volatility of the market, the stock, and the volatility uh, of such indicators depends on standard deviation. Alright, so when the market is very volatile, the bands expand, and when the market is not so volatile, it contracts. So here it expands a lot, so it shows that it's very, very volatile, and here it contracts, so it's not so volatile. So the relative high price is known as the upper band. The relative low price is known as the lower band. Alright, so the Bollinger line shows the as an investor, it is only appropriate to only buy when upper band hits the bottom, and we should only sell the stock when the lower band hits the top. Alright, so as you can see here, as of now, SIA Engineering is actually quite undervalued, and since it's a recovery period, it's actually quite stable here around this year after its steep decline. I would actually suggest buying it. I will actually invest my money in SIA Engineering, mainly because I will actually see going up in the future. However, we also have to see relative to its competitors. Alright, so for SIA Engineering's competitors, we actually have Singapore Technologies Engineering Limited, which is at 3.76. So as you can see, it's not as volatile, and it's actually quite relative strength index is actually quite low, but I wouldn't really buy it mainly because SIA Engineering is lower, and although it's been stable, overall um, STE, Singapore Technologies Engineering, is actually a bit more weaker than SIA Engineering. Okay, so if you compare both bands, it's not even quite close. Here is about 5 point something. Lowest is about 4.6. Here is about 3 point something. So I will actually invest all my money in SIA Engineering because it's more famous. The price is just hit and low, and I would actually see it going up in the future. So as a threat, I wouldn't really consider this as a threat, although it is one of its closest competitors. So yeah, I will consider investing my money in SIA Engineering. Alright, so thank you for listening.